You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Dean Johnson.
The AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's The Killing After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's The Killing After Show.
Welcome everybody, Bing is for doing. We're here doing episode 7 of season 3, Hope Kills. Quite an interesting title, obviously very reflective of all the ideologies floating in tonight's episode. I am, of course, your host, Phil Svitek, joined alongside.
Hello, Phil. Hello, everybody. My name is Marisa Serafini.
Welcome everybody. We've got a lot to talk about, and we're gonna kind of try to get through everything because we do have a special guest calling in a bit. Julia Sarah Stone is her name, but you might know her better as Lyric from the show. Yeah. Great episode for her, by the way, tonight.
Yeah, it was really good for her, and she had a lot of good scenes.
She did. She's been doing great, and tonight she did really fantastic as well. I'm quite unfortunate for her, but before we get into that, let's go to over to the prison. Frankie's back.
Yes, Becker is back.
And I love how Seward kind of, he had his number on what was going on, and obviously we got that, amazing scene at their house, earlier in the season of that everything might not be as great as it seems at his household.
Yeah, and I liked how Seward kind of got under Becker's skin, and he kind of knew that something was wrong in his personal life, and he just went for the obvious that his wife is probably cheating on him. And sure enough, that actually ended up being true.
Well, I don't think he was
somewhat true.
I don't think he was guessing at it. I think he knew about it. I don't know. I think Seward is very intelligent, so I don't think he was making a very educated guess, and that's me being lesser about it. I think he knew, if anything. But
that just goes to show that Seward can study people, and he reads people like books, and he knows how, if something's wrong with someone, or like if something's up, he can pick up on those little details that other people might oversee.
Oh, certainly. And I do want to talk about the tit for tat between the two of them. But before kind of that, I want to talk about Becker because, if you go back to episode 1, his whole notion was, check your emotions at the door. And now we've reversed the script where he's kind of like, hey, you know what, I've got a lot of problems and things like that. And, his buddy is now saying, hey, you weren't here. And Alton died as a result.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Becker kind of takes it out on Seward, too. Not in the correct manner. I think it was pretty much displaced anger towards Seward, where it's really probably anger towards himself that his wife is kind of cheating on him.
Well, it certainly is displaced, but I also think he feels like, hey, you know what, like unlike this guy, I've been a good husband and things like that, and I care. I may not always be there, but I'm not this guy who murdered his wife and a priest.
Yeah, but I did like that interaction between Seward and Frank because it just shows maybe they're kind of a little on the same playing field now, that Becker's kind of messed up and Seward's kind of messed up, so they're just going at each other.
Well, unfortunately, earlier in the season, I would have said Seward would have had his number, but ultimately, that's not the case. Certainly not right now, because Seward goes through that huge breakdown. Right? So, I believe his name is Dale. His new partner.
His new inmate.
His new inmate says, you get to choose how you want to die, and Seward takes that very literal, when in fact he was meaning like salvation, things like that, you know, just beyond forgiveness. And Seward has that moment where he really breaks down, which I thought was, you know, I thought he was a little bit stronger, and I didn't take him for that.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting how Dale was now kind of a little bit giving Seward a taste of his own medicine, because a couple of episodes ago, it was always Seward telling Alton, you know, about death and whatnot, and now it's Dale being like, now you have a choice, whether you want to die in a prison like Alton did, like he killed himself, or if you want to be hanged like you originally planned. So it's just, you know, reiterating the fact that you're in charge of the way you want to go. Exactly,
and you know, also, it's interesting, you know, Seward has said, like, you know, it's kind of leading to a point where, you know, as Lyndon says, like, he's innocent. And I remember their kind of first conversation, you know, the courage, this was more with Skinner, the courage that it takes to be hanged. I want you to kind of see this and things like that. And so he's kind of going through this. And as they're weighing him, because it seems like he may be innocent, I think he doesn't have the courage that someone that would have committed that crime has.
Yeah, I agree. I think if someone who was guilty would probably, and I'm not sure about this personally, but I think someone who knows that they're guilty might be more accepting the fact, you know, they have their imminent death. But Seward's kind of acting out like he's not guilty. He knows he's innocent, and he shouldn't be in that position that he's in. Yeah.
I mean, I think at first he was accepting of it, you know, because of the fact, like, okay, you know what, no one's going to believe me. I am innocent. So F the world, you know, they've all betrayed me. But now here comes Lyndon, and she offers him that glimmer of hope. Mm-hmm. And now he wants his lawyer.
Yeah, and even Becker mentioned that it's like, no, it's too late. And Seward's, you know, using his right. No, I want my lawyer.
Well, we'll see what happens. We're left with kind of quite an interesting. You have Becker and his son walking out, you know, and testing everything. You know, after that's one big gallow.
Yeah, that was really.
And
big.
Becker was so proud of that moment and sharing it with his son. And obviously, you know, he's trying to win him back after what happened with the mother.
Yeah, because there was that line saying that his son thinks now that he's, you know, pointless or something like that. And I think just having that ending moment with the father and son just showed that, you know, tried to gain that respect back from his son, knowing that his dad has power over all these guys who can end their life. And, like, he has that power.
And also letting him know, you know, right and wrong is a choice. And it was interesting kind of, I think, you know, he was saying that about, obviously, just as a lesson, but I also think he was telling him about the mother, right and wrong, you know?
Yeah.
So
ultimately, it was just a way to, you know, get his son back to him.
It was, and quite a chilling scene at that. Let's move away from that. Let's move. I want to start with Bullet, and then we'll kind of, you know, dissect all the way to the lead up of my Pastor Mike rather. So you know, it's interesting kind of seeing how this relationship between Bullet and Lyric has developed, and now that they're kind of kicked out. But Holder has, I really liked, and Holder goes street. That's some of my favorite bits.
Yeah, and I like how he just kind of reverts back to his normal self once he's on the streets with, you know, other people. He's just like very chill. He's not disrespectful or demeaning or condescending in a way, but he's kind of like, yeah, I'm one of you guys.
Yeah, and I thought ultimately he gave Bullet good advice in the sense like, hey, you know, I could teach you whatever their lingo is basically for picking up girls.
Yeah.
But he said, you know, you got to protect her ultimately, and there was that part that Bullet said like, hey, you don't have to worry about the pastor. He's good. Bullet was wrong.
Yeah, he was wrong. She was wrong. But I like this dynamic now. You can see how Bullet and Holder, their relationship has evolved even since the first episode.
But
Now
how has
they're
it
giving-
evolved? How has it evolved if she's not willing to listen to him, and if something should happen to poor Lyric, then guess what? How does that affect Bullet? This is the second. Okay, so Callie was his friend, right? And he's
Right.
feeling the effects of that, and we'll talk about the mother. But also, now this is a person that he actually loves.
Yeah,
How does that affect him? That he could have done something. Holder told her, protect her, and he said, watch out, but she didn't take the advice.
No, and I knew something was gonna happen too, because like once he said keep her safe, and I wrote down something is going to happen to Lyric, and sure enough, at the end of the episode, something did. But to answer your question, I think it's just I like the fact that they kind of trust each other now. They might not follow each other's orders, but they're at that moment where they can just generally talk about personal stuff and like really bond in that way.
Yeah, but okay, that's all well and good, except the person you loved, you herded her right in to the Pod Piper, to the death.
Well, we don't know about death yet.
Well, we don't know about death yet, certainly,
But I don't think Holder could have done anything yet. He gave her advice to keep her safe, but
He gave
who
her
knew
advice to
that
keep her
anything
safe.
was going to happen in Lyric?
But she was unwilling to listen about the pastor. Unwilling. So he didn't even have a chance to say anything. She just dismissed it. And therein lies the problem.
Yeah, maybe, yes.
Well, let's kind of talk about it, because then, he goes up, or she goes up to Pastor Mike and says, hey, you know what, let's cut a deal. She has nowhere else to stay, her stepdad, blah, blah, blah. As Pastor Mike calls it, the sales pitch.
Sales pitch. Which it was, because it was a lie.
Yeah, but, it worked out, and it would, on the surface, it would seem normal, okay, here you go, here's this girl, I'm going to take care of her as, because this child came to me, there's no more room at the beacon, so I'll take care of her. Not the case. And sorry, Bullet, you were wrong. You couldn't, this is the second person you couldn't protect.
And it also goes back to the fact that what you just mentioned, that Bullet didn't take Holder's advice because Holder said to stay away from the pastor, and what's the first thing she did? She went to the pastor and asked for help.
See, now you're on my side.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Now you're on my side. Let's talk about the mom real quick, and specifically I want to talk about the scene where she's with the other mom, whose child has been gone, I'll say, for 7 years.
I like this because this showed a glimpse of what Danette's future could be. If she doesn't find Callie, I think this, and I love the casting of these two women because the older woman looked like an older version of Danette. So it showed that if Danette does not find Callie, that'll be her in 7 years. She will still be going to the police and looking for her daughter, who she won't give up that she's dead.
Interesting. Well, that's a interesting take. I mean, I did love her kind of pushback of like, "Hey, my daughter's not dead." But I think again, as I've said before, I think she's going through the realizations of Bullet, of okay, she might be dead. Mm-hmm. But I also do like her kind of now, like Bullet. I wouldn't say she's fully siding with the police, just like Bullet isn't 100% siding with the police. But at least, when she gets the note, like, hey, he's lying, okay, bring it to Lyndon. And she did her thing, and they got the intel off of that. Yeah. So, you know what? At least she's actively kind of working towards it. I mean, ultimately, I think it would be great if she could really step up and figure out a way to find Joe.
Yeah. Because so many people are looking for Callie, not enough people are looking for Joe.
I don't think anyone's looking for Callie anymore.
No.
She is, but I don't think anybody else is. At least to my knowledge.
Yeah, because even in last episode, they're all like, how do we find Joe? And even in tonight's episode, I believe it was Reddick he meant there was this line he says, just do it all again. Like, go back to all the places you've already interrogated people and just go again and see if we missed anything.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's kind of nice reminders throughout the show of, okay, what are all the pieces? What are all the moving parts? And Joe, obviously, he can't be found. So, it's always a kind of nice reminder. And the other reminder is that Seward's only got a few more days to live.
Yeah, and I liked the sound editing of what they had when they were building his gallows, because he's just lying asleep in his cell, but you can just hear them pounding
Hammering away.
and hammering, and so it just like that even reinforces the fact that he's going to die soon.
Yeah. So let's talk about Holder and Lyndon, and they were together for some of it, away from each other. As they kind of always been. Their dynamic is kind of going back. I mean, especially we talked about Holder's appearance, right? Just very briefly, but the fact that even Skinner calls him out. He's like, "What are you dressed like?
What are you wearing?" So
it's interesting how he is kind of falling back into a pattern of that, and almost. I don't think well, let's argue this. Is he less ambitious now of kind of rising up in the police rank?
I wouldn't say less ambitious. I'd say he's playing the part. If he wants to talk to people on the street, yeah, I don't think anyone's going to listen to you if you're in a, three-piece suit. But I think it does go back, even with Lyndon, because she's not really dressed up either like a detective. If you saw these two people on a random day, do you think they would be detectives?
Lyndon more so than him.
Okay.
Well, because Lyndon's just, I mean, she's a female, so, I mean, unless she wears, like, a pantsuit or something like that, she's not going to look like that. But, I mean, she presents herself more as a cop than, like, hey, yo, what's up, thugs?
Yeah, well, yeah, she exudes more respect from other people than I think Holder does.
Yeah.
But I think both of them kind of need to step up their uniform game just a little bit, just to show that they are authority and they are detectives, and people, if they want respect from people, they're gonna have to act the part too.
I think it's a double-edged sword. Do they want respect from? I don't think they. Yes, they want respect within their police peers, but ultimately, I think the good news is that they want to obviously find this killer. They want to solve this mystery, and so, okay, by any means necessary, right? Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, they were on 36 hours straight, or 72 hours, whatever the case was, and that's what they're dealing with. They don't have time to be kind of thinking about
their outfits.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Agreed.
But it's interesting, there was that reversal where Holder kind of lost his emotions, and Lyndon says to him, don't be like me, because Holder kind of held her against that. But let's kind of talk about the boyfriend first.
Yeah.
This poor guy.
I thought they broke up the first time.
Oh, well, I guess he just didn't get it. Some guys just, I don't know.
I guess he didn't.
Some women don't get it. Some guys just don't get it. And this was a guy who just didn't get it.
No, and he was Cody. That was his name, and
Cody.
He was accusing Lyndon, like, this is why you're single, and this is why you're always alone.
Not to cut you off, I am getting word that we do have Julia on the line. Hello?
Hi.
Hello, how are you? Welcome. Once again, this is Julia Sarah Stone, who plays Lyric, so thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. This was an amazing episode, by the way, for you. I mean, unfortunate, but your acting was spectacular.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it was a really exciting episode.
Marisa, do you want to start your questions? I know you got a lot that you want to get through.
Hi, Julia. Thanks for calling in. I love Lyric.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love Lyric and your character and how she interacts with Bullet and Mitch throughout these episodes. What is the atmosphere like on set with you and Bex and Max Fowler?
They are such awesome people and really good actors. And I think throughout with working together, we learned so much from each other and just hung out a lot. We like watch movies at my house, and that was super fun. So yeah, it was really chill, and everyone's really supportive. So it was a really amazing experience.
So let's take one step back, and I kind of want to go down a, kind of this whole thing, right? So how much did you know about The Killing, when kind of, let's say, the casting call started or anything like that? Did you know much about the show early on?
I actually hadn't heard of the show before I got the audition, but as part of preparing for the callback, just to see, like, the feel of it and, like, the overall tone. I watched a couple of episodes, and I actually ended up getting hooked. And I watched all first 2 seasons before starting filming. So, yeah, it's an awesome show, and it's hard to stop watching if you watch the first 2 episodes.
Now, for us, we love, and I'm speaking for Marisa as well, we love the aspect of, kind of you guys as kids and, the dangers you guys face, and yet how you guys do try to act so strong. What was it like to prepare for such a role where, you really are deep down scared, I feel at least, and yet you have to put on this facade for the rest of the world?
Well, although I can't really relate to Lyric's circumstances, but in a way I think every teenager can relate to the emotions and the feelings that these kids go through on a day-to-day basis, just trying to survive on the streets. And it's a lot of the emotions are the same, so in that sense, it made it a lot easier to relate to what Lyric is going through, because their relationships with each other are a lot like relationships that we have in real life. Like, for instance, Bullet is really she's like a rock to Lyric. She really stabilizes her when Twitch leaves.
Mm-hmm. Do you, I noticed with the characters that you portrayed, such as Elizabeth in the year Dolly Parton Was My Mom, and then your other roles that you played, you played a lot of coming of ages kind of characters. Do you like these kind of roles, or do they kind of gravitate towards you?
I think part of it just comes with the age, because everyone around the age of 12, 15 is just really trying to find themselves, and I think that presents the opportunity for really interesting stories, and that's kind of how these characters are born and kind of are put onto the page from. They're just trying to find themselves, and that it puts out a lot of opportunities for really interesting and intriguing stories.
Do you have any inspirations from actors or other people that you know of that you kind of emulate in your acting?
Personally, I really look up to Meryl Streep because she completely transforms with every single character she plays, to the point where she's almost unrecognizable. And I really admire that about her, because it takes a lot of courage to completely give yourself up to a character like that. And yeah, I just think she's really awesome for doing that.
Yeah, she's a great actress. Now, Lyric is quite the breakout character this season out of all the other teenagers in the show so far. What has been the fan reaction to you or to the show so far?
Well, I've gotten a few really nice messages, on Twitter and stuff, just about my work, on The Killing, which is actually, it's really heartwarming, and just seeing that fans get really excited about the character and about the relationship with Bullet, because it seems like a lot of fans are excited about that aspect of the story, which it's really exciting to me to see that.
Have you gotten any tweets or anything like that in the past, whatever amount of hours since the episode aired about, people's worry for Lyric of what's happening with her right now because of this episode?
Yeah, I have, and it's exciting to me to see that fans really care about these characters and are getting really into the story, and because that's really what it's all about. It's making people feel things and really get into the characters and their stories.
Now, I want to ask you this, as an actor, how did you channel the character in the moment? It seemed like to me, but I want to get your take on this. In the moment when Pastor Mike is kind of talking to you, you say the line, Bullet called, she's going to be here in a few. That seemed like a bluff to me. And from my perspective, what I was getting was the fact of, obviously you hope that, she would come and save you, but also I'm hoping there was a moment of like, wow, Bullet got me into this. Did she know? What kind of, from a character's perspective, what was going through Lyric's mind in that moment?
It was a lot of fear about what was going to happen to her, and what it was trying to figure out, like, where is he coming from with this, and a sudden aloneness because not having Bullet so soon after the abandonment from Twitch, and just all of that crashing in on her in this moment of vulnerability, and it was, she just had to search for something to say that would get her out of this situation. So yeah, it was a bit of a bluff, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that is unfortunately the unfortunate part of it, and I was just like, oh, poor Bullet. Let me ask you this. The episode is called Hope, and Lyric has been kind of attaching herself to different people, and because these people have had kind of their own dreams, right? We're talking about Twitch, and he wanted to go to LA and things like that. What is Lyric's hope? Is it just to find someone that can be good to her, or does she have aspirations beyond that? What's her immediate kind of goal, or just overall hope in life?
I think, well, a lot of what makes Lyric really unique in this show is that she's one of the only characters that, no matter what, always has hope and faith that things will get better, and she has dreams, like when she's on the roof with Bullet, and she says she's thinking about getting an apartment and having a better life. So she always has that faith, and I think mainly she wants to be loved, and she wants to give love, and that's her primary goal, really. And she wants to be a mother and have a family, and anything. She just really wants to. She wants love. That's her main thing.
And I agree. She is the one young teenage character that we see that always has that one ray of sunshine, that one thing to look forward to. What do you think is going to happen to Lyric throughout these episodes? Because she's now missing, but we kind of know that you're signed on for a few more episodes. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I can't reveal anything about that, but...
Or is there anything you can tease us?
At this point, it's really up to the viewers to decide what they think is going to happen to Lyric, because it's really open-ended at this point. And I think that's part of the excitement for people.
Yeah, I mean, I wish these episodes would happen more frequently. That's, you know, they get us so hooked, and we have to wait a whole week. Did you get to interact with anybody else, you know, from the cast that, you know, you don't necessarily share screen time with?
Not a lot, because the different kind of worlds in the show are very separate, and I didn't really get to interact a lot with the other actors, but I did get to see them on set and have little conversations, which is good. And yeah, everyone's just so nice, and seeing their work and how they transform from how they are on set to their character, and it's really inspiring, and it's really awesome to see everyone's work all put together.
Were you kind of starstruck in a sense, because, you know, you said after the audition you kind of watched and fell in love with the show? You know, was there that moment of like, wow, I'm getting to be part of this show that, you know, I now love?
I don't think I was so much starstruck as surprised to like how different they were from their characters, because I think when you see an actor on screen as a character, you get this kind of sense of, you attach the character to the face, and just seeing them in person is kind of a shock to.
Who's the biggest
see,
shock?
Like, okay, this is actually who they are. So yeah, it wasn't so much being starstruck as just really respecting them as actors, and they're amazing people as well.
Who would you say is the most different from their character?
All of them. I just think like Mireille and Joel, they're such sweet people, and like, for example, Mireille, in the show, you never see Sarah smiling, barely ever. And Mireille in person it's a complete transformation, because she's always just smiling and so sweet and happy to see everyone. And Joel as well, he's just like, he's really awesome as a person.
Now, who's your favorite character you like to follow on The Killing? Or who do you find the most interesting?
I think at different points of the story, different characters become interesting. Like, for example, in episode 7, the one that just aired, I found myself really intrigued by Raina and her storyline, even though it's not one of the main storylines. I found myself really interested in that aspect of it, which was really interesting to me. But yeah, Seward's storyline is really intriguing as well, from the standpoint of just seeing what that does to a person being put in that situation.
Yeah, he's speaking of, you know, did you get, you know, with Peter, you know, I know you didn't get to necessarily interact with a lot, you know, offset too much, but was there anything that you kind of took away from him? I mean, he's playing such a dark and twisted character, and he's doing such a phenomenal job of it. You know, is there? Did you get to kind of see the process a little bit? You know, how he transforms himself into that?
I didn't get to see him a lot on set, but just watching him on screen, I mean, it's fascinating. He has so much subtlety in his performance, which gives so much to the character, and you can, just watching him on screen, like, you can really see the psychological aspects of it. And the fact that he does so much in such a small space, it's because he's in a prison cell, and he doesn't have a lot of space to to use in his performance, but he does so well with showing so much in such a small area.
Yeah, and speaking of getting into character, as an actress, do you have any ritualistic routines that you do before you get into character?
Well, I find when I read a script, I get this intuitive sense of the character, and from there I start to build in the details. But emotionally, on set I would get in touch with Lyric. I use music a lot, which I found was really helpful for this specific character.
What kind of music would you listen to?
Poetry and.
What kind of music would you listen to get into the character of Lyric?
Well, I put together a playlist, which I would listen to on set, and
But is it like it's not? Is it like rap? Is it like jazz? Is it Britney Spears? What sort? What,
it was a mixture of everything, I guess. Just different kinds of songs that speak to me. It depends on the scene as well. Like, depending on like the emotional aspects of the scene and how the music speaks to me.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting.
Now, I read in an interview you did a while back that while you were on the set filming for The Year Dolly Parton Was My Mom, you had no electricity one morning due to flooding and whatnot, and you had to do makeup in the truck headlights. Were there any funny situations that happened during the filming of The Killing?
There were a few. Actually, in episode 307, or no, not 307, the one before that, there's a scene where Lyric and Bullet have a kiss, and it wasn't awkward to film that, but there was one take when afterwards we were just looking into each other's eyes, and they kept the camera rolling for a really long time, and there was some kind of noise in the background, like something fell or something, and it was so difficult to keep a straight face, and I could tell that Bex was trying to keep a straight face as well, and that just made it so much more difficult, and as soon as they said cut, we just burst out laughing, and so that was interesting.
Very cool. Now, is there anything that you'd like to share with the fans about, just your experience on the show, or just anything outside of the show as well? Feel free to use this platform right now. Spread the message.
Just that I'm really grateful for anyone who watches and supports the show, and
do you have any upcoming projects we can look forward to?
Not at the moment. I'm just taking a lot of acting classes during the summer and auditioning, and hopefully something comes up.
Yeah, excellent. What's your social media platforms that you use? Where can we find you on Twitter?
You can find me on Twitter at Julia Serafini.
That's simple.
And
simple
I also
enough.
have a Facebook page. It's called Julia Serafini Actor.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Well, Julia, thank you so much for giving up some time to talk with us. We really appreciate it. And once again, you're doing a fantastic job. And we're going to speculate a little bit more on what happens to Lyric. And but we do hope it all ends up well for her.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Right.
I look forward to seeing your career build, because in the last few years you've had amazing resume build up, and it only goes up from here.
Yes, and if you're ever in LA, feel free to stop by.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you, Julia.
All right. So yeah, that was great to kind of hear
She's
that perspective.
lovely.
You know, it's always, I really love hearing it from an intrinsic standpoint of, these sort of characters. And there were several things that she said that I never even kind of thought to have a different, perspective like that. I think, we kind of skipped over it, but the fact that they were talking on the rooftop of the, hope and things like that, that was a nice reminder of that's who Lyric is. And I think her character actually inspires people around her.
Yeah, and even she touched upon Seward and how he acts in such a small space that's, you really got to step up your performance if you're confined to a little area.
Well, I don't know, but to be that insightful for a 15-year-old, I'll give her a lot of credit. That's very insightful.
Very, and I like the fact that because we are so much older, we have the adult kind of perspective, and she brings that younger viewpoint.
Yes, indeed. Thanks for calling me old. All right.
Well,
all right. So, let's kind of pick back up where we left off. And I believe we were talking about Lyndon's relationship with Cody and where that was left off and how he's poor puppy love.
Hopefully, Cody gets the message that it's over. It's officially over now.
You better get the message now. But what was your take on the notion of, okay, why don't you just become a cop in Chicago? Sure, maybe cold there, but
that actually was funny because I know what it's like in Chicago. It is cold, but then again, Lyndon would be closer to her son, but that also goes to show that that's not. Family isn't her priority. Her job.
Okay, let me ask you this: does she want to be close to her family? Or does she want to be close to Skinner?
I don't. There was that small moment. I'm like, are they gonna kiss? What?
Oh, the phone rang.
I know. You broke up the moment.
It did break up the moment. I don't know. So it was interesting, kind of watching that. I think that could be partially why she is staying. But I think the bigger reason is obviously Seward, and she wants to make the tie-in to the whole murder, Joe Mills and Seward.
She wants to close this case first.
Which, by the way, we got that little bit of info that, from in between June and November of 2009 is when the murders really happened. And
Tricia Seward was killed December 28th.
Yes, so a whole month later. So, it's stacking up against even Lyndon.
Yeah, and the evidence is also showing that it does not look like, the person that they're looking for. So.
Yeah, so it's quite unfortunate for Seward, but even he has hope within Lyndon. But right now, his hopes aren't being answered. So let's talk about Mike Pastor Mike. I can call him Mike Pastor. I think I know him, Mike Pastor, maybe. Sorry, Mike Pastor, if you're listening. Pastor Mike.
He had some moments. Some moments tonight, I thought, oh, he's actually a good, sincere guy, and then other moments, I was like, oh, he's really shady.
Well, I really want to kind of go back and rewatch the season once it's over to really watch the dramatic irony and people's kind of acting choices in the moment, and I would love to kind of see his when I do that, going from Mark to Mike. Oh, he's already got, the fact that, he's already had a case like that, but then the girl OD'd, so it was, the prosecution dropped it. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's...
He got away with it.
He really got away with it. And you would think he would stop, but
stop while you're ahead.
But that's all the more reason why he is, for lack of a better term, psycho, because that's what psychos do. They continue a habit that, that they could have gotten caught with, but didn't, so it's like, ooh, free reign now, as opposed to learning from it.
But I think serial killers also, and kind of have that mentality too. Once they kill one person or get away with something, they think they can do it again.
Here's what I'm not convinced. There's more to this, and right now we're on episode 7. We've got to get to 12. I'm not convinced that Joe and the pastor are the ultimate killer. I think they're a means to get to the... I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Pastor, as shady as he may seem right now in this episode, and the clues kind of lead up to him right now, but I don't think he.
Well, here's the thing: the clues lead up to him, and I have nothing against him being a suspect. I think he's a suspect, but I don't think he's the killer. I think he's the tie-in to the killer. He's an accomplice.
He's attached.
So that's what I'm saying, and I think again right now because we have so many more episodes to go, I don't know how you can sustain that amount, unless all of a sudden he's being put on trial and we go through like 5 episodes of just jury.
Yeah, no, and that honestly would be boring to watch.
No, you don't like Law and Order?
Yep. No, I don't.
Anyway, so that's my thinking, but it's just too easy for him to really be the killer, unfortunately. But he is shady, and you know what?
Shady.
Wow, Holder, he went too far, and Lyndon let him know, and because I think he's kind of gotten it from Lyndon, because Lyndon always kind of goes too far.
Push those boundaries.
She pushes the boundary, but she doesn't go over it. He went over it, and with the whole Ezekiel line, or what was it?
Yeah, I wrote it down.
Chapter 1:7.
Ephesians.
Chapter
1, verse 7.
There you go.
Own up to the truth. Pretty much. That's what I was
Forgiveness,
saying.
hope, and grace. But Lyndon was right. Just leave. Just go. And it was like, no, he's gonna push the buttons, and especially when you knew you had him. Okay, it's a rental. It's this and that. Like, you could have called it in. It would have worked out.
And I agreed they should have called it in, but going off a rental, I don't think that was enough to go off of. But they did find his original car all bloodied up, which just points back to Pastor Mike being a shady guy, and he could possibly be the guy that's killing all these girls.
Could be, so it's gonna be interesting, and obviously we're left with, they're on a search for him. Everyone thinks he took a train because there's 6 trains that left the station.
Yeah, they're right there. And Lyric was with him. And now Lyric is gone.
Lyric is gone, but there he is in the car with Lyndon. I thought that's smart. Stay. Everyone else is going to be looking for you out there. You stay.
But then where did Lyric go?
That remains to be seen.
If he's still there, then Lyric still has to be somewhere.
In the trunk?
Ooh. If Lyric is still alive, she'd be making noise in the trunk.
Now she's gagged up.
You could still kick and whatnot and make noise.
Not really.
Bust a taillight.
Here's the interesting part. Here's the interesting feature that they put in cars now. They have the lever that opens it, and it has the picture instructions on how to get out of a car.
Well, thank God for that. So.
I think car companies saw too many wild moves and like, we gotta fix this.
We gotta save people's lives here.
Which I thought, I guess is smart.
That's smart.
But why don't we head into predictions, since we're kind of getting into that realm of speculation.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV prediction.
All right. So, obviously, okay. So let's start with, what is the fate of Lyric?
She is not dead. She's still around in the vicinity somewhere.
Okay.
And I don't think Kelly's dead either. She might be dead, but they're still looking for her. There's still some hope left.
I think Lyric is not dead. Callie's dead because Bullet. She would be happy, but the emotional damage it would have done to her to find, because she already came to the idea that, okay, Callie's dead.
But it would be a happy ending.
It would be a happy ending.
If Bullet lost all hope. Okay,
the killing is not always
Kelly's
about the
gone,
ending.
And Kelly comes back, it'll be happy.
Okay, I don't understand the show that you're watching. It will give you some hope, right? The episode is called Hope, and people can have hope, and I think ultimately we will end on a positive note. But you're not going to have balloons in the street.
Well, I'm not asking for balloons. I'm just asking for, because these episodes are so dark and dreary, there might be one light at the end of that tunnel.
I think it's going to be a light at the end of the tunnel, but in a subtle way. It's going to be, So anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and say that. Okay.
What's the verdict on Pastor Mike?
Well, let's talk about that because they drive somewhere, and ultimately we get that little teaser of Lyndon. You don't have to do this. They're in that kind of what it seems like a parking garage, but an empty parking garage. So it'll be interesting to see at what point in the storyline that happens in the episode, if it happens more towards the beginning or more towards the end.
Do you think Pastor Mike will kill himself, off himself? When Lyndon said, you don't have to do this, do you think he was kind of threatening to kill his own life?
I believe he was pointing the gun at her, if my memory serves me.
I don't recall saying a gun. I just heard her saying that line. Okay.
Either way, because I think here's the thing. I think from what I recall, she was scared. She was the one, kind of in danger. So she was saying, "You don't have to do it." I don't know. So we'll see. We're left with Seward in a fetal position. Mm-hmm.
He's kind of degrading himself and deteriorating a bit.
Yeah. So it's going to be all the power that he used to have is now gone. Mm-hmm. And I also want to see where Bullet kind of stands in all this. Bullet, you better get your ass and you better get.
She lost Kelly. Now she lost Lyric. Damn. Who else does she have?
And she's been raped.
Other than Holder and she's been raped. Like so many bad things are happening to this poor girl.
Trust Holder.
Yeah.
That's what she's got to do. She's got to trust Holder, but she's not trusting him.
Yeah, and I always said if those teenagers stick together, they'd be fine. And now they're all disbanding. The only people she have left that are actually good are Holder and Lyndon. So she's got to cling on to them even more so.
Anyway, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you once again, Julia Sarah Stone, for joining us.
Yes.
Her Twitter handle is just that. Mm-hmm. Very easy, so go follow her if you're not following her already. And you can follow Marisa at...
You can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Serafini TV.
And she'll be doing Rookie Blue as well.
Yep.
Rate and comment us on iTunes, and for a more lighter version of serial killer content, because it's a movie, not a TV show, Adventures of Serial Buddies, out on iTunes. That's Adventures of Serial Buddies. It's the first serial killer comedy of all time, produced kind of in-house, I would say, by the AfterBuzz TV staff, crew, whatever you want to call them, primarily the core from the founding fathers, as it may. Marisa wasn't around then, but she
I saw post-production.
She was there kind of in post-production, yes. It's got Henry Winkler, Artie Lang, Christopher McDonald, Kathy Lee Gifford, Beth Bears, Maria Menounos,
Gian Molina.
Yes.
So many funny people.
So yes, please check it out. Adventures of Serial Buddies, serialbuddies.com if you want the link. For the price of a Happy Meal, you won't be disappointed. And of course, follow us here at AfterBuzz TV. Until next week, thank you.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.